So pay what you want pricing. It is exactly what it sounds like. We can point in a few different ways as to where it starts. This is the one that is most famous. So Radiohead is a British rock and roll band. Many of you know that already. Those of you who don't, you just learned something kind of important. They're very popular. So they were, in 2007, they, like most bands, had been under some horrible contract with their record label. And they get to they finish their contract and they say, we're going on our own, we're going to record our own album, we're going to release it as a digital download on our own website, no middleman. And then they do this, the last weird things is their album in Rainbows that came out that way. And they said, we're going to allow our customers to pay any price they want for it. Right? So they say, it's up to you. If you click a button, it says, no, it's really up to you on this because customers don't believe it. And so we say, great. So they offer their album for free. And you could say, was that a success? And here I say probably, and that is the fact being half the people who downloaded the album paid something for it. The Wall Street Journal reported that as Radiohead has committed a major error. Only half the people who bought their album paid anything for it, which I think of in the world of glass half full, half empty. They're seeing it as half empty when the other half of the glass is full of money, right? And you say, and that's because these are people who could get it for free, and a lot of them bought it. So we don't know. One estimate, this is also related, you might care, for Radiohead. This is frequently cited as possibly the most purchased album in history, right? Because you reduce friction so low, and it's a very popular band. Lots of people got in Rainbows. Okay, so these are the easy questions to ask. I mean, easy to ask, hard to answer. Is it profitable to ever use pay-what-you-want pricing? And is it more profitable? And when I say more profitable, we're thinking like more profitable than what? Right? And that again, we don't, like for Radiohead, you're like, they did this, what was the alternative? We can kind of construct some stuff, but we can't really observe the counterfactual. So we're going to try to get to that. So these payments, reflecting where I came from with this discussion of social preferences, are necessarily interesting also just by understanding people. Because you say, wait a minute, if I offer you something for free, why would you pay for it? That just seems super weird. And I have this note actually just for myself to mention that people work pretty hard at trying to rationalize the behavior. I'm not that style of researcher, of being an economist who adjusts what the rational model would be. What I'm going to try to do is understand sort of psychologically how this works, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is what I tend to focus on, saying when I choose to buy, I'm signaling something to the cashier, to my friends, to me, and I'm going to talk about that. In one winter, they said they release a holiday pack of cards, right? So these are printed cards that they put in an envelope, and they send it through the mail if you buy it, okay? I've mentioned all of the printing, sending, because this is going to be a notable, you're like, that costs something. Like that's not, they can't just deliver it for free. So, and they said, you can pay any price you want for this. So it's another pay what you want effort. But this time, the reason I talk about them is A, because theirs is kind of interesting, different than Radiohead, and B, because they were willing to share their data with me, right? So I can show you exactly what happened. So I say it's sort of free, sort of you can pay what you want, but it turns out if you pay less than $3, they reprimand you, and I'll show you the reprimand. So if this is it's a little colorful. So if you're squeamish, don't read. So they say, they basically say, you know, you're being a jerk. I mean, you can do it, but we won't like you. So when you see that, you're like, all right, I guess it's still that you can pay any price you want, but man, like that seems pretty grim. So now we can ask, like, does that work? Like, how did it go? And so let me show you. So this is the distribution of payments, and I also point this out because it makes you realize, like, things don't, it's not like a clean little normal distribution of payments. Like, 3, remember, that's the special one. That's what they call their break-even point. And a lot of people pay that. But it's not the most common. 0 is common. Like, that is, 15,000 people paid 0. But the $5 amount, you say that it's like it's going above this other thing. And that's true. It is also notable, this is the number that is the default number when you show up. Like, if you see the empty box, it's not quite empty. It has a grayed out 5. And so there's some notion that in a world of pay what you want pricing, like, I have no idea how much to pay. There is a 5 there. Like, that sounds pretty good, right? And it's sort of send it, and so it's a little bit of it's enough to move us in that direction. Okay, this is overall. So they cost a lot of money to send these things out. They made a lot of money. They made some profit. They actually ended up giving all of this money to charity, which is kind of neat. But it was collected in the form of regular for-profit enterprise, and they made money selling these cards at Pay What You Want, which seems kind of good. Okay, so easy conclusions. People pay more often, modally pay more than they have to. And you should now ask, well, maybe that's something about that company, and it's that, and the red reprimand and so on. Maybe it's not general. What if we sold a good that had no marginal cost? Right? That seems like that's where the good stuff's going to be. That's Radiohead. So I can't get access to Radiohead, but I got access to another artist. And so an artist released an album as a Pay What You Want download, and I was able to actually reach that artist and that record label and say, hey, can you share your data? So I have 15 months worth of Pay What You Want download data, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like. First of all, here's the artist. I can't tell you who he is. I can tell you he's great. Not that that'll help him or you. So, but there's a photo of him. And you might say, so what happened? So first of all, I mentioned it's his 4th album. His first 3 sold on the order of somewhere between a few hundred to a few thousand, right? Which, if you know any musicians out there, like a few thousand sounds pretty good, but it's not the Beatles, right? This album had over 600,000 downloads. Most people pay 0. Like that now, yeah, 0 is definitely the most common. But a lot of people don't pay 0. 95% pay less than 5, 99% pay less than 10, the remaining 1%, they mostly pay 10. Okay. The average is about $1.50. You put all that together, and you say like, whoa, that's real money. This is a guy who, for previous albums, probably didn't even list sales on his tax returns. Actually, having talked to him, my guess is this probably didn't make it to his tax returns either. But the point is, but real money spontaneously. So, and here it is. This is an easy chart. It's just showing downloads over time, and you see the yellow bars are showing that you get a lot of downloads at the beginning, and slower and slower, and that prices reflect that. You can think of this doesn't have to be the case, but it basically is showing the people who like the album most buy it early and also pay the most, right? Because they like it the most. This is nice feedback, and it tells us there's something reasonable going on. For this last study, we went to a very large amusement park. Actually, it's funny. I'm not allowed to tell you what the amusement park is, but I am allowed to tell you I did this in collaboration with Disney Research. So we go to a very large amusement park, and we go to one ride at that park, where it's like a roller coaster type ride, and while you're on it, they photograph you, and then you can buy a printed out photo at the end of the ride. Not unlike the boat one, okay? So you say, great. Each rider is photographed on the ride. The photo is displayed along with the price on video monitors at the end. All right, but this is what we're talking about. And you say, so we're going to sell essentially this photo. And what I'm going to manipulate are the prices. So of course, here's the regular price, their fixed price, $12.95. But I'm also going to manipulate this a second variable. That is, I'm going to say, so some people are told it's $12.95, other people are told it's pay what you want. And then these other two groups, they're told, today, it's $12.95, and half the money you pay is going to go to charity. Or they're told, today it's pay what you want, and half the money you pay is going to go to charity. We ran this for a month at this ride, and so a lot of people go on it. And first of all, purchase rate, 0.5% buy the photo at the regular price. Now you could look at that and say, that is a small number. But you could also look at it and say, that's a big number. It's $12.95 for a photo that cost about 92 cents to print, right? So that's a pretty massive margin. And a lot of people go on this ride, which is the reason they sell these photos. So we have no reason to look at it and say, that is the perfect price. But we can still look at it and say, like, even at a low percent, that's pretty good. Now, what happens when you add the charity? Do more people buy? Not really. Just a tiny bit more, 0.6% buy the photo when 50% goes to charity, right? So this is, again, consistent with the idea of corporate social responsibility. It doesn't do much. Right, and the margins are nasty if we think of it that way. 8.4% buy it, pay what you want. That is obviously way, way, way higher than the other ones. And now we get to probably my favorite finding from this. And now, when it's pay what you want and half the money goes to charity, fewer people buy. This is an extremely reliable effect. Not just here. I mean, here it's massively statistically reliable. But I mean, in many contexts, this is a better photo, if you will. That is, conceptually, it's the same photo, except this one helps out a charity. And they're like, no, I'll take the worst photo, is sort of what the behavior is looking like. That's weird, right? And so we want to, but this is getting at the core of what's happening. So first of all, how much do they pay? $12.95, of course, in those. 92 cents is how much they pay under regular pay what you want. 92 cents is exactly how much it costs to print a photo. Actually, it's a little over 92 cents to print a photo. So as again, this is going to be me boasting again, I was able to get a multi-billion-dollar company to run an experiment where they lost money. As an academic, that's amazing. Like, I can't even get Panera Bread to take my calls, and they actually did this. And the cool thing, of course, is this last one and what that does. They don't just pay more when half the money goes to charity. They pay discontinuously more, right? And so you say that's $5.33. It's short of $12.95, but is a lot more than 92 cents. So you say, how much revenue are they getting per rider? And you can sort of go through. It's a lot more revenue per rider that goes through. Post-cost revenue. So this is, now I'm subtracting out how much it costs to print a photo. And we can see, first of all, and I've carved it up so you can see that this is the amount going to charity and the amount going to the firm. This is a ride that gets more than 10,000 riders a day on it. So you look at that and you're like, and it's 20 cents per rider. That is a fair amount of money. Notably, this blue bar is higher than either of these. That is to say, if everything goes well from one ride at this one park, I get to give a substantial surplus to charity and still be making more money than I would with my fixed prices. What's neat about this project is that the companies had no idea what was going to happen. And I would have said, and hopefully I've conveyed some of this, I frequently had no idea either. Right, that I'm convincing them to run a study because I am interested in the answer, because the question is not answered yet. Right? And the company has no idea. So we're all in it together. And you might say, well, gosh, running an experiment is risky. Maybe we should just ask people. Turns out if you just ask people, like run a survey, hey, how much would you pay in this situation? Would you buy? Those answers are unrecognizable in terms of reality. That is, if you say, hey, would you buy a photo that was pay what you want and half went to charity? 85% of people say, absolutely. And then you say, how much would you pay? And they give numbers that are a joke, right? And so they just can't picture what it's like to be in that situation. You have to run the study to learn it. And running the study, you get to learn these things that are real and actionable and novel, right? So at the end of that last study, there was like the simplest possible piece of consulting advice I get to offer to the photo manager there and be like, you want to set this price? Do this, and you will make this much more money, right? And with all of the fun insight that comes out of learning about people that we couldn't have gotten in any other way. All right, I'm not going to go over time, so I'll stop. Thanks.